Hello, Patreon backers. It's been a little while, so we have a patrons Ask GN, as we do when we have new Ask GN episodes. First one's from Exeus, who says, when's the next Patreon Ask GN? Now seems good. Next one, Nory. What is GN's most disliked video? What went wrong, or what would you do differently? I think it is the P400 review, the Phanteks P400. So, I think there's a few things that contributed to that. Number one is Phanteks fans are about at the level of NVIDIA or AMD fans, more realistically. So, I mean, it's just like, I didn't like the case. I thought it was bad, and that was the incorrect opinion. So that said, so these days, I think if we did that video today, we would command way more respect. And the way I would do that is by focusing much harder on the really terrible thermal performance of it and then demonstrating it better with some frequency plots. I don't know that we did that back then. So it'd be really easy to just show like the frequency decay and kind of win that argument. Separately, probably, I'd still make the argument that you shouldn't have to pay extra for stuff like drive cages in that case. I would probably frame that argument differently. So I think it's just like, there's a mix of people weren't really used to our case reviews yet, and that video at the time, relative to the other case reviews, got a lot of views for us, like a whole lot relative to the views of the time. And so that meant we were reaching a lot of people who didn't know our content. So that was kind of a dangerous mix. And then my presentation and how I defended the results today would be much stronger and more convincing, I think, to people who've never seen us before. Whereas then I didn't really script stuff around the assumption that there'd be newcomers watching us. I just thought it was the same people who always did. So that obviously was a flaw in the scripting. And then also it's Phanteks, and for whatever reason people are fanatical about Phanteks to a point that it's really, you kind of go like, guys, a case. So I think that's kind of the mixture of things. But yeah, that's one of the most disliked ones. Next one, cautery. When can we expect the rest of the memory timing at all? Comment promised as parts 2, etc. on July 2nd video or article. That is a really confusing sentence, but I think I get you. We have some custom animations that Andrew made. They've been in progress for a long time now. It's just kind of like a passive project where he'll get a couple hours of downtime, work on it then, and then that's it. We got to make videos. So animation, I think, is mostly done at this point. I'll check with him actually today on what we need to finish for that, because it's slow progress. It's just a passive project because we did want to animate it and do some really cool stuff. And it is cool. It wouldn't take us this long to do if we just sat down and worked on it for a week, but we got to make normal videos too. And we're not going to profit on the RAM video. It's kind of just, you know, doing cool stuff and spending a whole lot of time on it. Next one, Eidelweiss. Any interest in reviewing monitors? At CES, I spoke with the DisplayPort group and got a whole lot of information on how to do it properly. So we're equipped in terms of knowledge now to start that process. I've gotten access to a couple of like 50-page white papers on how to review monitors. I do not suspect we will begin reviewing monitors anytime soon. In order to do it, and I think we could do it competently, I'm very confident in that, but in order to do it, I basically have to hire another person. I don't have the budget or the interest to do that right now, but we would have to bring someone on, because it'd be like, if we want to do fans, monitors, and power supplies, that's a job. And I don't have any more hours that I can put into that. So if we did them, it'd be like a one-off thing. The problem with that is that every time we want to do another one, I'm the one who has to relearn how to do it. So you got to learn how to do it the first time, review one, and then a month or two later, go like, what was the process again? Read through our own internal documentation, do another one. So you're wasting like a day every time just to review a product. that's kind of a big challenge for us right now with like power supply reviews as well. We know how to do it. I have it documented. I've done it. But it's been long enough now since I did one, about a month or two, that we're in territory of I'm going to have to relearn the process, the technical processes to do it again. And that means we would need to hire. And again, we're not looking to do that right now. So the answer is yes, there is interest, but no, there is no time. So monitor reviews will not come until after fans and power supplies, and maybe not until after new hire or something as well. Next one, Bryn, what is your background with PCs or electronics? Channels like yours I find fascinating in terms of the technical details being discussed at such ease, as I know PC hardware at a level enough to understand purchasing requirements, overclocking, but no deeper. I know it's like anything where if you specialize, it's second nature, but curious as to how you got here. I've answered this in previous public Ask Gens, but I'll do some basics for you. I mean, it's a really hard question to answer because it's a matter of figuring out what you say. I mean, it's effectively like walking up to you and saying, so tell me everything about you in 5 minutes or less, because this is what I do. So I don't know, basics. I did web development for a number of years, freelance. Started that when I was built my first site when I was 12. It was not good. It was it was a front page website, I believe. And then I did PHP Nuke websites. I did PHP BB. I did well, various other CMS websites, doesn't matter what they were. And then also freelance web development around when I was like 15 onward. And so that was kind of the entry, was just like freelance web development, web design, and I've lost a lot of that skill set now, but it's good enough where I can maintain our site. And what else? I don't know, built systems. I've been building systems for, is it 20 years? No, it's not 20 years. I've been building systems for like at least 15 years, roughly 15, a little less, 13 to 15 years, I don't know, somewhere there. So building computers for a long time. Don't really do that anymore. Like I don't assemble a whole system anymore for myself. Now it's build them every day for work. It's a bit different, but far more building of computers. It's not in a case on average. And then I worked at Dell for a bit. So I worked at Dell as a test. I was a contractor, but I was there as a test technician at first, and then started moving into more of a test engineering role. And so the role test technician was, you know, here's welcome to the company, and here's the set of test cases you have to execute. So I worked on portables, which would be laptops. Worked on like the, I only remember the code names. I don't remember what the product names were. Doesn't matter. I worked on some of the laptops in the Inspiron series and the business client sector, and didn't really do anything in the consumer class too much, but so, like 1 or 2 Inspiron and then a whole bunch of biz client. I don't remember the names of the products. Worked on test engineering was more or less the graduation from a test technician, where you execute the cases. So you walk through a test case, I guess I should define, is like, think of an Excel spreadsheet except in custom software. And you walk through it step by step. You do X, Y should happen. Does Y happen? Yes or no? If no, what's the point of failure? Is it severe? If it is severe, write a bug report. Is it severity 1, 2, 3, whatever the rating system may be for the different companies. And then from there, you hopefully work with the developer to resolve it. So I did testing on biometric software. Which is why I hate fingerprint readers, because I know what happens with them behind the scenes. Not on like a science level, I don't know that, I don't program them, I don't know the cryptography, but on a practical level of how frequently they fail and don't work, it was enough to make me never want to use them. But I did biometric detection, like testing. I did smart card readers, did the first UEFI BIOS that Dell ever made. I tested that, so that the very first UEFI BIOS of the mouse, that was my team's work. We tested that one. Several other things too. Thermals, got my start in thermals there. And then moved from that to some like test engineering role, which officially a test engineer would be someone who writes the test cases, designs the test cases. So that became more of my job as I moved with the company. It was, hey, you're pretty good at figuring out how to break this stuff, so why don't you just write down things you think would break it, and we'll have the team do this, not just one person. So that was my job for a little while, was like figure out, okay, based on experience, it seems like clicking these things or pushing these hardware switches will trigger a failure. So write a test case, and then people on the team will execute that case on a whole bunch of hardware. It might be like 50 laptops. And then you see, okay, which ones pass, which ones fail. And if they fail, write it up and get it fixed, hopefully. So, so that was my job there. I have run Gamers Nexus since 2007 officially. I think it really got started like 2008, but I started working on it 2007. So I've run GN for a very long time now. That's been most of my experience. I started as purely gaming, moved into hardware, and really stuck with hardware because I was better at it. I developed an interest in it, and my interest in sort of the game side is still there, but it's really competitive marketplace. I don't want to review games again. It was fun while it lasted. I really enjoyed the creative writing of it. Haven't done creative writing in a long time now. I'm sure I've lost a lot of that ability. And it's just, I mean, it's too competitive, and I'm better at this, so I stuck with this. There's probably other pretty critical things too that I'm forgetting, but just in terms of like profession, that's most of what I've done. No real official schooling. I mostly learned from talking with people who know more than me, which is everybody, but you just have to figure out who knows more than you in the specific areas that you're interested in. And so I will spend a lot of time at events finding the PMs, and I know that talking to the PM or the engineers won't get us a content piece directly because we can't get them on camera in most cases, but it will teach me. And so one of the best things that I've learned to do is actually, fortunately, because we're a video outlet, people will recognize us. And at some of the engineering events, I'll have people approach me and say, hey, I work for NVIDIA. I'm an engineer in this department. I love your content. And my response is always like, I really appreciate you. Why do you like my content? Why do you like what I do? Surely you know everything I'm saying, and I'm sure you're listening to it going like, that's wrong. So what I've learned to ask is, of course, people, I like watching Linus's content too. I know most of the stuff he's going to talk about, but I enjoy it for different reasons. And I'm sure it's the same for these engineers. But when they approach us now, I've learned to ask, so of the stuff in your field that that you've seen us attempt, what do we get wrong? What things have I misstated? What have I, when speculated incorrectly? Is there anything glaring that you wanted to just like pause the video and say like, Steve, stop, shut up, you don't know what you're talking about? So I've learned to do that and just really try and listen to what they're saying, and it's extremely helpful in improving our content. So yeah, I think a lot of the learning, the stuff we do is just being okay with saying, I actually don't know exactly any of this specific topic. Can you please educate me? And it's amazing how the tone of the conversation shifts, and how open people get, and how much they enjoy talking with you when you can just say, you know what, I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't know anything about this. Please educate me. As opposed to like fake it till you make it, which can work, and I've done that too, but it's just everything is so much better when you just say, you know what, we have half an hour of time in this meeting. I need to make this video, so you give me 10 minutes, let me do this, and then I'm gonna come back here, and I want you to teach me as much as you can so that I can be better. And I think that's a lot of the getting to where we are today. During trade shows, what we'll do is kind of get to the end of day one, day two, and I'll talk to the team and say, you know what, we killed it today, we did a great job, really competitive, we're doing well. However, I think these are our critical weak points. It's always on me. I mean, it's scheduling, or it's knowing how to work with a particular person on a particular project. And so I'll kind of throughout the day keep a list of, yeah, this is something we could do better. This is something we could improve on, and let's do that better tomorrow or the next day or the next event. And so it's like constant, I guess getting any level of knowledge is just all about knowing that you don't know everything and you're not going to. And you have to be critical of yourself, but you can't take it as a reflection on yourself, as a reflection of your worth, your value, because it's not. So that's what got us where we are. That's just kind of general philosophy. Next one, good question. What is the next one? Geoff Jay Cheeseburger. Have you considered a video on the community of YouTube reviewers? For example, I know you work with or mention Buildzoid, Jayztwocents, etc. Might be neat to see the behind-the-scenes relationships that are formed. So, like I said in the public Ask GN, still 6, so excuse me there. I'm not 100% sure exactly what kind of video you're looking for. Please let me know if you have specific, like what you imagine this would be, so that I can keep it in mind. We've done videos, of course, with all these people. If you search the channel, I'm sure you know that. But recently, one with Paul and Kyle. So we try to join everyone at events to do videos with them, at least. As far as a video on like how behind the scenes how it works, with Buildzoid it was pretty easy. Someone in the industry who worked at Acetech at the time had said to me, "Hey, have you heard of this guy?" And I hadn't. I think Buildzoid had like 1,000 subscribers at the time, and he said, "Have you heard of him?" I looked at his videos, like, damn, this guy is good. And just reached out to him and said, hey, would you like to contract for us and do some videos? So that was that one. And of course, we talk regularly now. Buildzoid's an excellent person to talk to, incredible resource, and overall easy to work with. Jay, it was a matter of, we probably just met at an event. I'm trying to think what event it might have been. Probably a press event. Oh, you know what it was? It was the GTX 1080 launch event in Austin. So one of the NVIDIA PR guys for the game side, he was like, hey, Steve, I want to introduce you to someone. Brought me over to Jay, said, this is Jason, and Jay likes bikes. And so Jay and I just talked about bikes for like an hour, and that's how we got to know each other. No discussion at all about the content either one of us produced. We were both aware of each other. I think I was probably more aware of him than the inverse, given the size of our channel at the time. And we just talked about bikes. So that was all that was. These days we still talk about things like that. Recently at the EVGA suite at CES, it was like, hey, do you want to pose for a stupid photo for our OC battle? And so we did that. But yeah, behind the scenes, how it's formed, it's really just going to events and you kind of see people over and over again. I mean, one time I was hanging out with Paul after an Intel event, and Linus came over, and it's like anything else. You're done with work for the day, and you're on location. You don't really know anything around you or anyone, and so you're like, well, I saw those two guys an hour ago. Let me just grab dinner with them, and that's kind of how it works. So it's really not any different than any other job. It's just that we're all familiar with each other indirectly. So I guess that's kind of where it gets interesting. But it doesn't really change the dynamic versus meeting anyone else from work that you haven't met before. So next one, Fluffeepuff. Regarding your case reviews, why doesn't GN always do a permutation that includes the Uber laydown, meaning all fan slots occupied with third-party high-quality fans? And yeah, I know where this is going. The answer is time and money. It's always time and money. And case reviews are already extremely expensive. They take a hell of a lot of time. And it's just, yeah, I mean, our case reviews are already, I would say, on average, significantly more involved than most. And to get here is not cheap. And I can't tell Patrick, like, hey, you want to work like another day on that? Maybe for free? Because it's not going to work. So as we continue to build views, this is the cool thing about media, as we continue to build views on a single piece of content, so if we know our case reviews, one day we'll get 100,000 views instead of 50, then it gets easier to expand the testing. We've already expanded. I constantly invest money into the business, more than probably most percentage-wise than most in the industry, I would imagine. So the goal is to just constantly sink money into it to expand on what we do and improve, but there's a limit, right? I can really only do that reasonably so much before someone's not making money. And so it's a real world limitation, and I hate for it to be a limitation, but it is. And that's really all there is to it. So maybe one day, but another limitation is the time we have the product to. Sometimes we only have it 2 days, 3 days, and it's just not possible. So we decided that standard testing for us would be, this is what the case comes with. And if it comes with no fans, then we'll add a couple to average the average count of what we would typically see at its price point. So that's what we decided, and we know your interest, but we don't have any current plans to expand in that direction for all of them. We've done that specifically. We've done the AIO locations. We've done the fan count changes. We have done that a lot, but we typically do it for specific cases that we know will be really high interest. We don't do it for every case. So I will keep it in mind, though, to try and do that more often when we can afford to do so. Last one, ShwiftyBastard. Does putting your PC into sleep mode stop putting hours on the life cycle of the capacitors? Effectively, yes, because the caps really only meaningfully age if they're running at a high enough temperature. If it's idle or if it's asleep, which is idle, like those caps might be doing milliwatts or something. So yes, it functionally stops any meaningful aging. If you put it to sleep and it's like 90 degrees and the fan stops spinning, then it will age the caps tremendously. But if it's ever that temperature, there's a serious problem elsewhere in the system, like perhaps having a space heater inside of it plugged into the wall, because I don't know why else that would happen when it's asleep. But the answer is yes, it stops aging them in any meaningful amount. If your cap's rated 85C 5,000 hours and you run them 95C, then you're functionally halving the life of the capacitors. So 2,500 hours instead of 5,000 at that temperature. But if you're well below, then like you're in the 30s or the 20s for ambient, then it just doesn't matter. So that's it for this one. Thank you for watching. Thank you for bearing with me on the cuts and these AskGNs. My the being sick is mostly gone, but my throat's all beat up. So thank you for bearing with me. Leave your questions in the Discord as always. You're already subscribed, and thanks for supporting us on Patreon. I'll see you all next time.